Hello, welcome to Raymond Castile's Basement of Horror. Today we're going to look at blow mold Halloween pails or candy buckets. Blow mold Halloween candy buckets. Last season for the Halloween season, we did an episode on blow mold lanterns, like this one. And we also did an episode on blow mold toys. Later in the season, we did an episode on blow mold toys, not necessarily Halloween, but monster blow mold toys. And we've done an entire episode on the A.J. Runze Monster Mobile. So for background on the world of blow mold toys and lanterns, look at those two previous episodes. Today, we're going to look at candy pails, particularly. These Halloween pails. And typically they have a handle or a bail. And can I take this one out without destroying it? There we go. So you see this little guy, he has a handle. That's called a bail. And that's a classic children's Halloween pail. Now, these pails I kind of like calling them buckets, candy buckets. So I think that's what I'll settle on, one or the other. I think it'll be bucket. I think more people would call them pails, but I will call them candy buckets. They're made by a lot of different companies. And I was rewatching my lantern episode from last Halloween, and I spent half the episode trying to find the maker's mark on this stuff until I just finally gave up. So I'm not going to waste time with that in this episode. If I can't find it, like 1 second, I'm going to say whatever. I'm not an expert on blow molds. I just have a lot of them, but I can't tell you very much about the history of blow molds. As I discussed in the lantern episode last Halloween, I collect blow molds just for fun. I don't obsess on the company history, the provenance of each individual piece, what year it was made, who made it, and try to connect it to other things in culture or toy history. And unlike my approach to everything else I collect, where I get very obsessive and detail-oriented, and I have to know everything about each toy or mask or model kit or whatever it is in my collection. I have to know everything about the company and when and why and how this item was made. I'm not like that when it comes to blow molds. I really try to keep it fun and kind of breezy and simple with blow mold collecting. I like to get them cheap. I have spent a lot on some, but generally I don't. And if I can't get a good deal on one, I don't buy it. I just look at them as something inexpensive that makes me happy. I like as I said last year, the feel and the texture of blow mold toys really brings me back to my childhood. I had a lot of blow mold stuff as a kid. Not just Halloween stuff, all kinds of blow mold toys. And it really makes me think about my very early years. I mean, like 3 years old, like very early, when I was playing with blow mold bowling kits, bowling alley, toy sets, play sets, and outdoor blow mold sports kind of pieces, blow mold balls, and blow mold sandbox toys and pool. Not this kind of pool, but water pool, blow mold pool toys. So it was a whole world from my early childhood that, as an adult collector, well, here's some of the stuff from the big giveaway. Don't forget the big giveaway, October 29th. October 29th. So here's one of the things from the giveaway. So, like this Quint toy from NECA is about as far away as you can get from, well, here's do something figural. This Frankenstein. This is a cool piece. We saw this last year. This blow mold Frankenstein. That's a pretty cool piece. But, I mean, this Quint is 1,000,000 miles away. So I can't, collecting something like this gives me zero satisfaction in terms of scratching the itch that this gives me. I can't get my fix on whatever it is that this does for me. I can't get my fix by buying something like this. And today, everything's like this as far as my genre of toy collecting. So that doesn't do it. I mean, there's very little simple, fun toys like this being made that are in the genre that I collect. So as I said, this is one of our giveaway items. I'll talk more about that at the end. Every year we have a big Halloween giveaway. And you have to find that video and comment on that video. And then you can enter the giveaway October 29th. We have several toys we're giving away, as you'll see if you watch the giveaway video. Now, this is a candy bucket. Let's see, it does have a maker's mark here. It was made by... Is that S Lily or 5 Lily? Number 5, Lily Nestrite. Tub, made in USA. By Lily Tulip. Cup Corporation, New York, New York. Lily Tulip. So this beautiful paper candy bucket is by Lily Tulip. Lily Tulip. And you can see it's got fantastic graphics on it. I don't know what year this was. I'm guessing 1960s. It looks like a 60s item, particularly the font for Trick or Treat. It's got a black cat. I like that. Just like Billy. My Billy. So inside, there's nothing to see in there, just empty, but it's got a clear plastic bale. So this is, it's a candy bucket, but it's cardboard. And there's some very, very good, and you might say, well, wait a minute, isn't that maybe a popcorn bucket for the theater? No, it says Trick or Treat design. And it says Trick or Treat on it. So it's a candy bucket. It's for trick-or-treating. It's not a theater popcorn bucket. Although there are very collectible vintage popcorn buckets that are very similar in design to this. So that's an example of a vintage, probably 1960s Halloween bucket, but it's not blow mold. It's paper. All the rest of the ones we're going to look at are plastic blow mold. And speaking of Billy, I'm looking at him over here, keeping an eye on him. making sure he doesn't get into trouble. Now, I went into some detail last year about the companies that made these things, and I told you like what year they were founded. I'm not going to go into that detail this time, but some of the companies that we're going to talk about, some of the companies that made these things were companies like Bayshore, Topstone, Empire Plastics, General Foam, Union Plastics, Clinton Toys, and many others, A.J. Renzi. So there's several companies that made these below mold Halloween buckets. Now let's show one. Yeah, okay, let's start here. Here's a classic Halloween bucket, and this is A.J. Renzi. Let's see if it has a date on it. Probably not. No, A.J. Renzi. But there's not a date. And there usually isn't. I mean, in fact, I don't think there's never like a copyright 1968. There's never anything like that. But it's A.J. Renzi. And this is a very, very impressive Halloween bucket. As far as jack-o'-lantern Halloween buckets go, this is one of the kings of Halloween jack-o'-lantern buckets. It's big. It's iconic. It's classic. Look at the grin. Look at its grin. It doesn't have just like a basic, ordinary grin. It's got a certain curve to it, and the teeth have a certain curve. It's got personality. And look how the eyes are set back. They're set apart from each other, very wide. It has a big personality. But the interesting thing about this is the back. It has all these embossed images of iconic Halloween characters, jack-o'-lanterns and a black cat, and it says "Trick or Treat" across the top. So these don't have any paint on them, but it's a wonderful little Halloween fantasy land on the back of this. And you could put a light in here, and I'm sure kids did, as they were trick-or-treating, maybe you had a flashlight, and they maybe stuck it in there and saw what that looked like when this lit up, and you could probably see these characters a lot better then. And incidentally, my black cat Billy does do that. He arches up like that and puts his tail up like that, just like a Halloween black cat. Exactly like that. So this is one of the most classic, iconic, beautiful Halloween jack-o'-lantern candy buckets. And it's made of a really sturdy plastic. A.J. Renzi made some of the, in hindsight, the higher end blow mold products. I'm sure at the time there was nothing high end about it, but looking back at it in the world of blow mold toys and Halloween novelties, A.J. Renzi's stuff was high quality. So I don't want to put that back in there because I got other stuff coming out. So for now, I'll just set it there. Most of the stuff we're going to see is orange, but there's a few things that are white. Now this is an Empire one. This is Empire Plastics. I thought there might be a date on this, but no. There's some little characters, but I can't make them out. But it's Empire. It's got the little crown logo. So here's an Empire white Halloween bucket. This is a skull. It's got its handle. So this is a little different in that it's white. It's not orange. It's a white skull. It's got some vertebrae back there. It's got a little neck. And you can find these with red eyes, red paint. I like the black ones. I got this black one, but they're the same mold and everything is available with red. And I'm not sure what era this is from, but I think it's a little later than you might expect. I wouldn't guess what decade, but I think they continued to make these pretty late into the 20th century. I wouldn't guess how late, but I don't think this item was made in the 1960s, probably not the 70s. I suspect it was later, but I could be completely wrong. I was very wrong about some other Empire products. I have these pipes, Frankenstein and Dracula Empire pipes, like the pipe you smoke, but they're blow mold. And I could have sworn they were later, just because the way they looked, but they're from the 1960s. They just have a design that's ahead of its time, but there was an advertisement discovered for those pipes, and the advertisement was from the 1960s. So I was wrong about those, so I might be wrong about this. I think this Empire skull is a little bit later, but I could be wrong. Could be 60s. Let's see here. Okay, what do we have here? This must be a Renzi, right? Yeah, because it's got embossed stuff on the back. So let's see if I can get this bale out without destroying it. No, I'm not going to do it. The bale's too stiff. I'm not going to try to bend it. But this is a small A.J. Renzi pumpkin jack-o'-lantern Halloween pail. And it's got a similar style, but it's not exactly the same. Very similar to the large one we saw, but not the same. And look at the cheeks. Look at that detail. The little dimples at the corners of the mouth. That's a unique detail. And that subtle detail gives it personality. And now here's the back. Once again, we have embossed characters. In this case, it's a witch. She also has the jack-o'-lanterns like the cat did, but in the center is a witch. A witch on her broom, another iconic image of Halloween. And here's the bale. So that's kind of stiff. I don't want to pop that out. I felt it and pulled on a little bit. It was just, it's kind of stiff. I don't want to risk it. So there's another A.J. Renzi blow mold Halloween bucket. Since this was on top, we'll deal with this. This is a much later Halloween bucket. Now, I don't know who made this, but I think it's from Mexico. I have two of them that are I think, from Mexico. Yeah, I have a feeling it's foolish to try to find a maker's mark on this. So I think this is from Mexico. Obviously, we're jumping way ahead in time here, but this is, at least I'm assuming we're jumping ahead in time. Maybe we're not. Maybe this is earlier than I think. But this is a zombie head. It's kind of a voodoo head because its eyes and mouth are stitched shut. I guess he's had some brain surgery. So it's kind of a zombie, kind of Frankenstein, kind of voodoo. And it's very gory. It has a exposed vertebrae and muscles. It's like Andy Warhol's Frankenstein in 3D. Just a laboratory in a dream. Okay, well, this is a gory thing, but it is a candy bucket. candy goes in there. And there's the bail or handle. So you hold it by this upside down as you're trick-or-treating. As you're trick-or-treating, you're holding it from the handle, and the candy's going in there. So I've heard that this is Mexican. I don't know that for sure. Probably because I think people are just assuming it is, but it probably is. It probably is. What era is it? I don't know. I want to guess 90s. I mean, it's just a guess. It could be 2010. It could be 1965. I really don't know. I'm just guessing. This looks like a 90s piece. Okay. What else we got here? Since we did that Mexican one, let's do this other Mexican one. So this will break up the orange monotony. This is an 80s candy bucket. And this is Michael Jackson. This is a Michael Jackson Thriller Halloween candy bucket. And as far as I know, it's unlicensed. Kind of a nice companion piece to the Thriller Graveyard Gang Bendums, which are also unlicensed. There's the handle. There's the hole for the candy. And look at this crazy thing. He's got Thriller on his head. He's got this crazy look in his eyes. I mean, it almost reminds me of a Bollywood monster from like an 80s Bollywood horror movie. More than a Mexican thing. But this is from Mexico. Unlicensed Thriller Michael Jackson. Here's the back, just more hair. There's the bottom. It's a Michael Jackson Thriller Halloween bucket. And this is said to be from Mexico, and I'm pretty sure it is. Because I've seen auctions they're in Mexico, and I think when I bought this, it shipped from Mexico, so it's Mexican for sure. And I'm guessing it's 80s because that was the age of Thriller. Why would they make a Thriller Michael Jackson piece in the 90s or 2000s? They would have done it when Thriller was a current thing. So I'm assuming it's early mid-80s when Thriller came out. Well, there's a mark on here. That's surprising. Let's see what this mark is. Grenas. Grenas. Let's take a look at that. Does anyone recognize that maker's mark? Have you seen that before? Did that company make anything else? Anyone who collects Mexican toys, does that ring a bell? Are you familiar with this company? I think that's really interesting. I did not expect to find a maker's mark on that. So, I really like this guy. He's really cool. Very cheesy and creepy, and I like that it's unlicensed. And that's something it's really a shame in this day where everything is just licensed and licensed to death. If I may show another giveaway item. We're not giving away this episode. We're giving it away in a future episode. My table cover is getting away from me. There we go. Sometimes Billy pulls this off. If you saw some of the episodes last year where he would pull the tablecloth off during the episode. He's right there. He doesn't come up on this table anymore. I wish he would so you could see him. I'm just going on a little side mission here, talking about licensing. So here's one of our giveaway pieces, the NECA Boris Karloff Frankenstein. Okay, that's a beautiful piece. And if someone's skipping around in this video and they skip to this part, they'll say, what does that have to do with blow molds? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. But this is one of our giveaway pieces on October 29th. We'll be giving away your choice. You could have that Quint, you could have this Frankenstein, and we have several other things you could choose from. But the reason I brought this out, this is licensed within an inch of its life. What we have now has to go through all these committees and approvals and different departments, and it's so corporate and so homogenized and so sterilized. They just drum the life right out of it. Not that these aren't cool toys, but that modern aesthetic, it has a kind of luridness to it, that there's no real charm to the sculpt. It's just has as I think I said in another video, it has an uncanny valley quality where it becomes kind of lurid. And then you have the other extreme where companies wants to license characters in a generic way and doesn't want actor likenesses. And then you have the opposite where it's got this kind of Wally World, almost fake childlike quality. It's like a facsimile of childlike. It's not a genuine childlike quality like some of these vintage toys. It's kind of manufactured innocence, a manufactured innocence. So I really miss the days where you could get something that was just wacky, bonkers, and irresponsible. It was not paying anyone any fees, or if it was, the IP holder couldn't care less and they just said, yeah, okay, you paid your license, go make your toy. Like all the licensed Azrac Hamway stuff in the 70s, that was all crazy. Universal and 20th Century Fox, they didn't care. They just let Azrac Hamway do whatever it wanted, and thank goodness they did. So I don't know, that thriller bucket just made me think, it made me miss the days when we could get wacky, goofy, unlicensed stuff that hadn't gone through a committee process and hadn't gone through multiple layers of approvals and didn't have to adhere to a style guide and didn't have Pantone colors that had to be matched exactly. Oh my gosh. So it's a shame that we are in a sterile time. Even the best stuff out there has a kind of sterility which these old things don't have. Okay, so here's another big bucket. I kind of go off on tangents, and then when I was watching some old episodes, I just thought, boy, do I go off on tangents, and I don't know, it felt right the first couple of years on the show, and now it doesn't feel quite right anymore. So when I go off on a tangent like I just did, I have a greater feeling tugging at me that maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe I should stay on topic. Well, anyway, here is a bucket that someone has converted into a lantern. Let me see if there's a mark on this. Maybe it's the mark of the pentagram. I don't know. No, 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 no. No mark. And yet, I know that hardcore blow mold collectors know who made this. How do they know? I think they have like catalogs and things like that that reveal who made these things. Or maybe it's just kind of an institutional memory from old-time collectors who were there when they were on the store shelf. And maybe I've heard a lot of stories about people who lived near the companies, near the factories that made this stuff, because a lot of it is made in the USA. A lot of this blow mold stuff is made in the USA. In fact, I think that's the norm with blow mold toys, is that they're made in the USA. I think it's less likely to find blow mold toys being shipped from Japan or China or Taiwan. I think it's the norm. It's more likely that you find that they're made in the USA. So there's a lot of people who have memories they've related online of growing up near these factories. I think that's where a lot of knowledge comes from, is firsthand, just being there, seeing what was being made. So I don't remember who made this. It is, I believe, known, but I just don't know. But this is a Bandit jack-o'-lantern candy bucket. And this is another iconic one. This is one of the better known, more sought after candy buckets. Not that it's expensive, it's not, but if you've got a blow mold collection with candy buckets, you want this one with that Bandit mask. Very unique. Very, very unique. And it's got a plastic bail. Well, they're all plastic, but this one is more like a cord, a plastic cord, than a strap. And I was saying that it was converted into a lantern. Someone cut a hole in it. Someone cut a hole in it so they could stick a light bulb in it. But it was not made to be a lantern. As far as I know, it was made to be a candy bucket. Okay. Wow. I'm putting these on the floor, but it's really, it's getting kind of tough to find space here. Okay, so we got another one I'll take out in a second. Let me keep going with this. Here is I keep looking over there because Billy's sleeping right there. I'm just kind of checking on him. Billy, my black cat Billy, has been diagnosed with asthma. So that concerns me. I'm giving him medication for it. So there's something in here. I don't know if there's some gunk on it. This could use a cleaning. Just imagine the decades of bacteria I'm probably breathing in as I look into these things. Okay, let's see here. Does this have any information on it? No. Of course it doesn't. A lot of these, I mean, they're all going to be made by those companies I told you about. Empire. Well, Empire has a crown logo on their stuff, like that skull. Empire, Union, Bayshore. I think this is Bayshore, but I'm not sure. I think it's Bayshore. I think this is Bayshore. They're all made by the same companies that I listed at the top of the show. So this is a winking jack-o'-lantern. He's unique because he's tall, he's oblong. You see, he's tall and skinny instead of round. it's a very different take on the idea of a jack-o'-lantern bucket. It's deep. And that might be the selling point. Like, hey kids, it's deep. There's more room for lots of candy. It's because it's tall. And it's kind of it has like a mischievous, ghoulish quality because it's smirking and winking. How many of these things are winking? None of them really. Like I said, I'm pretty sure that this one's a Bayshore, but I could be wrong. But it's probably from the 60s. A lot of these originated in the 1960s. Let's see what else we got here. I'm going to save that one for the moment. Let's see what else is in here. There's a series of them that I want to talk about together. And I think all the ones in this bucket are from that series. Yeah. Okay, so this one's not what I thought it was. Let me pull this out. Ah. Oh, this is a Renzi. This is AJ Renzi. Okay. I thought this was something else. So this is an AJ Renzi. There we go. This is an AJ Renzi skull bucket, and they came in different colors. This one's orange, but they made it in a lot of different colors, just like they did with a lot of their blow mold toys and everything else. I think this came in purple and white, and I don't know, blue maybe. I'm not sure, but I've seen people with a collection of all the different colors of these skulls next to each other. This is the only one I've got. I just got the orange one because it's Halloween orange. And, I might get a white one of these days. That's the AJ Renzi skull Halloween bucket. And it doesn't have the vertebrae on the back like the Empire one does. It has some interesting little shapes in the sculpt, the little swirls. Look at that. Let's bring back the Empire one. So here's the Empire one, here's AJ Renzi. Which one do you prefer? I mean, they're both cool. I think because this one's white, it looks more like a skull, but it also just the proportions are more skull-like. This almost looks like a 1940s cartoon skull. Like I could see this AJ Renzi skull on top of a cartoon skeleton dancing around in a black and white cartoon. So that's the AJ Renzi skull. Put that back in there. The plastic handles become brittle, so you got to be careful with those. And they're broken on a lot of plastic buckets. And whenever possible, I try to get them with the handles intact. With some of the more expensive ones, that's not practical. But if it's, 25 with a handle and 25 without a handle and $35 with a handle. I'm going to get the $35 with a handle. If it's 500 without a handle and 1,500 with a handle, then maybe I'll be satisfied without the handle. Okay, so before I think I go into the last set of them, let's show you this one. This is the holy grail of Halloween buckets. There's this one, and then there's all the rest. This is the Clinton Toys Glenn Strange Frankenstein Halloween bucket. There he is. And this is why I was talking about the handles. This one does not have a handle. Now, it's not like I made a conscious choice to save money by buying one with a handle. I was just trying for years to get one any way I could, and I managed to get this one. And it happened to not have a handle. These things are now so expensive that I just can't see spending the money just to get a handle on it. I think they passed the $1,000 mark long ago. So I don't know what they are now. I remember a few years ago when they hit 1,000, people were like, "Oh my gosh, that's ridiculous!" And then they kept going up and up. I didn't spend nearly that much on this. I don't remember what I spent, but it was a few $100. It wasn't $1,000. But nowadays, and I've had it a long time, but nowadays, you really need 1,000 to even be in the market for one of these. If you don't at least have that much, you're at a disadvantage. You're probably not going to get one now. It wasn't always like that, but that's what the reality is now. So there's a great variety in paint on these things. All of the Halloween buckets, I think, are orange plastic, but then there's a variety of different paint schemes. And sometimes they have two colors sprayed, like maybe a black and a green. And maybe sometimes the green will be on first and the black, or vice versa. And I've seen just green. I've seen other colors. I can't remember. I can't be specific, but I've seen other colors. But I think the standard version is a overall spray of green and then a quick spray of black on top of that. But sometimes they have very light color, just barely sprayed. And sometimes they have very thick color. So there's a lot of variety in how they're painted. And sometimes that's what will make one more desirable than another is the look of the paint. How many Halloween buckets have ears like that? Detailed ears. It's a pretty good ear. There's a lot of detail in this thing. So the same sculpt was used, for a number of things. It was used for a lot of things, but most famously it was used for a speaker. So the top here, instead of being cut wide like that, it had a smaller hole, and then it had wire mesh, and then inside was a speaker, and you could plug. I think there's some place to plug it in there. I'm not sure. I've never owned one of the speakers, but you plugged it into a radio, and then you could listen to the radio through the speaker. And those are molded in green plastic, same kind of plastic. It's just like this, except the color. Same, because I have held the speaker in my hand. It's the same kind of plastic as this, but it's green instead of orange. It's painted differently. It's painted with more detail, and it's got smaller holes at the top that has a speaker in it, a heavy metal audio speaker. And you can see the remnants of what used to be the handle that used to be there. So this has got a lot of detail. Tremendous amount of detail in the sculpt. I mean, it's really one of the most detailed Glenn Strange style Frankenstein items out there. It's very serious looking. It's not cartoony at all. It's a very serious, oddly serious Glenn Strange sculpt, and it's in such proportion. I mean, like as I said, look at even the ears are so realistic. Everything's perfect. You'd think it was a Don Post mask. I'd love to know why don't I just slam it down? I'd love to know the story of where did this sculpt come from? Who sculpted this? This wasn't Joe Schmo who sculpted this. I bet it's a name we know. I bet if we discovered who it was, I bet it's someone who sculpted other well-known toys or models or masks. I bet. Because this wasn't just, some talented, unknown person. This is a masterful sculpt. I mean, it's like looking at Glenn Strange. So it's amazing. It really is an incredible sculpt. And all the detail in the hair and everything. And it's all in perfect proportion. There's nothing cartoony, nothing stylized. So I'd love to know more about the Clinton Plastics Frankenstein and also the head speaker. I forgot who made the head speaker, but I could be wrong. I don't think Clinton made the head speaker. I think that was a different company. So obviously there was a connection somewhere there, but I don't know what the story is on that. I was saying there are other things. This had been made in other things. There are lanterns. So this is a bucket, but there's also a lantern version of this. And there's different styles. There's one that just has like a base stuck on it, like a round base that tapers and connects to the neck. And then there's one that's got a much taller base. It's a really odd one. It's a tall, narrow base. And then there's differences in how the base connects. There's some where it's molded in one piece, and then there's others where it snaps in. So there's a variety of different lanterns that use this sculpt, and the thing that they have in common is they have some kind of a base, and it's made of the same kind of plastic. Now I don't know if there's an authentic green candy pail version of this. I don't think so. I think all of them are orange. Could be wrong. I think it's just the speaker's green and the bucket's orange. But I know that there are variations out there. I don't know if the color of the plastic is a variation, but there's certainly a lot of paint variation. And with the lanterns, there's variation in the base part. And I think the lanterns have a closed, they're not buckets, they're lanterns. They have a closed top, and you can see two lines. One that's meant to be cut for the bucket, this big wide hole, and then you can see a line in the center that's meant to be cut for the speaker. So they were molded to be, the mold was designed to be used for either the speaker or the candy bucket. So I don't think one of the companies stole the other's sculpt. I think they both originated from the same manufacturer who made it, designed it so it could be used for either the bucket with the wide cut or the speaker with the small cut or the lanterns with no cut. And this is a 60s item. I don't know what year, but it's mid-60s, like somewhere between like 64 and 66, in that ballpark. And I do think the exact year is known, but I don't know it. Maybe it's on the toy, because this is marked. It might be on the toy. Let's see here. Yeah, there's some numbers there. I can see the C in Clinton. That's about it. Yeah, that's it. I see Clinton. There is a number, but I don't think it's a date. Yeah. Or if it is, I can't read it. So there are markings on it, but I see the C in Clinton. That's about it. The Clinton toys. Not Clint toys, as was thought at one time. That was some misinformation that got out in the 90s. And I thought for a while that it was Clint toys. It's not. It's Clinton. And I'm not sure if it's Clinton toys or Clinton plastics. I think I've been calling it Clinton toys. It might be Clinton plastics. I'm not sure. I think it's Clinton plastics, not Clinton toys. And in the 90s, it was thought to be Clint, like Clint Eastwood Clint toys. But that's wrong. It's Clinton. And it's interesting, in the bottom, it has these lines on the bottom, and that looks like it's guides for how the lantern base would snap in. Like that would be cut, and then the lantern base would snap in there. So this was designed for many different uses. From this sculpt, you would have multiple products. Okay, we'll put him back in, and then we'll look at the last set of blow molds. And I don't have, like I said, I don't have the speaker. I will never have the speaker. Frankly, I like the bucket more than the speaker. Not that I don't like the speaker, but I like the bucket more. But like a mint in package speaker costs like $10,000. Forget that. I'm not buying that. And the loose speakers with which most of them, of course, are loose. I think the base price is like $1,500, but you'll probably have to spend $2,000 or $3,000. So, but on a good day, you might get it for $1,500. That's the low end. So that's a lot of money. It doesn't mean enough to me to spend that kind of money on it. I'm happy to have the bucket. If I could get one with a intact handle, I wouldn't spend a fortune on it. But if I could get a good deal on one, sure, I'd like to have one with a handle. I probably wouldn't sell this one though. But it'd be nice to have one with a handle. I can't see ever owning the speaker, because as much as I like it, I just don't like it enough to spend thousands of dollars to get it. It's not that great, not to me. I'm sure to others it's probably the centerpiece of their collection. That's great. I'm happy for them. I understand why it's special to them. It doesn't carry the same emotional weight with me to justify that kind of placing that kind of financial burden on myself, because I can't just reach into my pocket and pull out 10 grand. There are toys I've spent a lot of money on over the years, and basically I sell stuff to pay for it. I have to gut my collection I have to let go of some things that do mean a lot to me to be able to buy a speaker. And it's not worth it. I'd rather have those items in my collection than the speaker. It would be nice to have a speaker if one floated down from the sky and landed here. I'd appreciate it. Of course, I treasure it, but I'm not spending thousands and thousands on a speaker. Okay, so this is the last set we're going to look at. And they are set. I'm going to make sure I don't have I think I'm forgetting one. This one, right? Yeah, okay. So I think that's it. 4. I think that's all I've got. Okay. Here's 1. 2. And I'd say that besides the Frankenstein, these are my favorite blow mold buckets. I mean, there's the Frankenstein, and then there's everything else. And out of everything else, these are my favorites. Oh, I think he's a... No, he's not a double. I thought he was a double. Okay, so these are all made by Topstone. These are Topstone blow mold Halloween buckets. They're all made by Topstone, which was a Connecticut-based company. Started in 1946, and although it changed hands over the years, it stayed in business until the mid-1990s. And I think 1994 was its last year, but I could be forgetting something, but I think 94 was its final year. So it was mid-40s to mid-90s. It was based in Connecticut. It moved around, but mostly it was either Bethel for the earlier years and then Danbury for the later years. In fact, it's more complicated than that. They had locations in many different places in Connecticut, but the big ones were Bethel and Danbury. And it was started by an artist named Keith Ward, who was a famous illustrator, who then got into vinyl squeaky toys. That's what the company made when he first got involved. He was one of... It was a little complicated. I don't think he was one of the founders, but very soon afterward, he bought the company right away. As I've been told, there are different versions of the story, but he was hired to help design the squeaky toys, these character toys that squeak. And then instead of just doing that, he said, well, I'll just buy into this company. And he became a partner, and then he just bought out the entire company and owned the company. So it was owned and operated by Keith Ward. Whether it was founded by him as a little sticky, but basically it was his company. It was his company, and he ran it during its golden age, from the 40s through the very early 60s, and then he sold it in, I think, 61. And it changed hands a few times very quickly. At that point, there was some... during the 60s, the company that owned it, it's a little complicated who actually owned the company. But basically Bland and Bland, a company called Bland and Bland, bought the company from Keith Ward. And then at some point, though, the person they put, not the first person they put in charge, but a couple of years later, the person they put in charge of the company ended up owning the company. And how it got there, that's a complicated story with some holes in it that I hope to fill someday. But the last guy who owned the company is still alive, at least as far as I know. As of last year, he was still alive. And it's an interesting company that I've done a lot of research on. I've gone to Connecticut, and I've interviewed people who worked for the company, and I've toured most, if not all, of the sites where the company was located, where the offices and the factories were located. And I have a pretty extensive collection of Topstone vintage masks, which was their main product, rubber masks. That's the main. They made a lot of stuff, but that was the main thing. They would hang their hat on their masks. They were basically a mask company that made a bunch of other stuff. So I'm quite confident I've got the world's greatest collection of original Keith Ward era vintage Topstone masks. And so we are talking about vintage Topstone collecting. I don't say this about anything else. I don't say this about any other toy, any other genre. But I would say, no joke, I would say that I am the world's foremost authority on vintage Topstone. I would not qualify that or put an asterisk by it. I would say flat out. I'm not an expert on very many things, but I'm an expert on that. So these are important to me. So these were part of a series of blow mold items that Topstone made. And they did not all the same year, but within a short span of time, they put out all these different buckets. And they went through changes in colors. Some of, like particularly this one, comes in a lot of different color schemes. And this one too. And sometimes it's all orange, and sometimes it's got different paint applied to it, different colors. But let's take a look at these. This was owned by someone named Jim Paul, the Steffer. And who was this, Luke Cole? Before we show the face, let's show the stuff on the bottom. And I don't mind when kids and parents put their names on toys, as long as it's unobtrusive. I think it adds to the character of a toy. It's part of the history of the toy, and it tells you this was owned by a child who had fun with it and took it out trick-or-treating. So here is the awesome face of this thing. And now I'm assuming Keith Ward sculpted that, but I don't know. I could be wrong about that. This could have been after he sold the company. And it could have been something that was available, in Hong Kong or whatever. Then Topstone it was wholesaled, and Topstone bought them and distributed them. Because Topstone did that with a lot of stuff in the later 60s into the 70s and beyond. There's a lot of stuff they put their name on that they didn't actually make. But I think these, they actually made. I don't think they bought these. I think they made these. And even though it's Topstone, I don't think these have I don't think they have the maker's mark on them. Oh, wait, here it is. It's just it's covered up by the writing. Let's see here. Copyright Topstone Rubber Company. So, that would tell me, if it's the Topstone Rubber Company, it's probably from the Keith Ward era. It may not be. They changed their name to Topstone Industries, but there were several years after he sold the company that it was still the rubber company. I think it became Topstone Toys. It was originally Topstone Rubber Toy Company. That was the name in the 50s. And then it went through some changes, and finally it became Topstone Industries for a good 20 years or more. So, but because of that Topstone Rubber, because it has rubber in the name, that was mainly a Keith Ward era name, although there was some overlap after he sold it where it was, I think it was still had rubber in the name. But the reason that's important is if this was made while Keith Ward still owned the company, then I'm quite sure he sculpted this. Does it look like his style? I don't know. I mean, it's a Halloween bucket, not a mask, so it's kind of hard to tell. This looks like this could be his style. Here's another one. Now that does look like Keith Ward's style. That looks like he probably sculpted that. So that has a lot of personality. I mean, these are almost like the O-Lantern family pumpkins in that they have these faces with all this personality. They're not just jack-o'-lanterns. They've got distinct faces. Yeah, this is Topstone Rubber. I'm looking at the writing on the bottom. I don't know if... Yeah, there we go. You can see it there. Here's the back. So very, very vivid. Very vivid sculpts. A lot of personality. Now this one doesn't have a handle, but it doesn't look like it ever had one. And I don't think I've ever seen this style with a handle. Let's see here. And it's copyright Topstone Rubber Company, Inc. So there's no data on it, but so there's another example. Classic Topstone Halloween bucket. And though I may not know the exact year these were introduced, I think it's safe to say these are 1960s, but maybe I speak too soon. They could be 50s. I have catalogs from the 50s that show the masks Topstone made, but I don't think I have a Topstone Company catalog from the 50s. I have wholesale catalogs that have Topstone masks in them. I do have many Topstone Company catalogs from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and 90s. I don't think I've got a Topstone Company catalog from the 50s. And I certainly don't have one from the 40s. So here's the top. I don't think it ever had a handle. It just doesn't look like it was made to have a handle. It's almost more like a jar, like something would sit on a table and you put stuff in it. But I've seen a few of these. I don't think I've ever seen one with a handle, and there's no place to put one. There's not a hole or anything where there would have been a handle. So I don't think, I mean, it's possible he's never had handles. This particular design didn't have a handle. It might have been intended as a tabletop container. Like something you fill with candy and let the kids reach in and get it. So once again, a lot of character, a lot of personality. Here's the final one. And this one has a handle that's different from the other ones. This one has like a plastic cord instead of a strap. Copyright Topstone Rubber. So they all say Topstone Rubber. Okay, so here's this one. This is a devil. You can see he's got white horns. This is a devil. There's his pail. I mean, his bail. It's a pail, and it has a bail. And that's hard plastic. It's different from the other ones. And I notice a lot of these have ears sculpted on. Or at least a suggestion of pointy little ears. So you can see it's got a lot of personality, a lot of detail. Very spooky. So I think you can see why these are my favorites. Not just that they're made by Topstone, but that helps. But they're just the coolest looking ones. They're so unique. And again, they remind me very much of the old Lantern Family pumpkins, only in as much as they have these individual vivid personalities. They're not generic jack-o'-lanterns. They have unique faces, unique expressions. Each one is a character. So they're Halloween pumpkins with individual character, very vivid faces with individual character. So I think that's it. That's the end of it. That is the end of my pumpkin show. Let's get the Frankenstein out one more time. We need something for the thumbnail. So this can be the money shot. There we go. La! This can be the thumbnail. We'll see. I'll probably look at it and say, nah, I don't think so. That's not the thumbnail. So here are my favorite ones. The Clinton Plastics Frankenstein bucket, and then the series of Topstone Evil Faces. That's not the official name, it's my name. Topstone Evil Faces Halloween buckets. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this look at Halloween candy buckets, candy pails, all blow-molded plastic, most of them from the 1960s, a few later ones, a few possibly earlier. Most originated from the 60s, and many stayed in production for years and years and years. Though not these, I don't think. Not the Topstone ones, and not the Frankenstein. As I said, I collect them really just for fun. I don't obsess on the details very much about these like I do on other things, or like I do on Topstone stuff in general. But most of this, it's a fun thing that brings back memories from childhood, and just the feel of this blow mold plastic. It has a feel, it has a texture, it has a kind of life to it. Actually, it has a kind of death to it. It feels dead. It feels inorganic. It feels very inorganic. I think that's what appeals to me. It's very, very plastic. I know that's a dirty word these days. Plastic is evil, but we're not supposed to have plastic. But I guess I'm a child of the plastic age. I grew up with plastic. I like plastic. I like the touch of it. When I could smell, I no longer have a sense of smell for medical reasons. But when I could, I loved the smell of plastic. I just like the sound of plastic, particularly blow mold plastic. Just the way the touch and the feel of this kind of cheap blow mold plastic. It's like something from another planet. It's weird. It's inorganic. It's like it doesn't belong here. And I guess nature would agree with me. Nature would say, you're right, it doesn't belong here. But, sometimes I feel like I don't belong here. So it doesn't surprise me that I would have an affinity for something that doesn't really feel natural. So I like that unnatural, inorganic quality that old plastic has. It's nostalgic, it's comforting. I like it. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a happy Halloween season. Remember, find the giveaway video, the annual Halloween giveaway, where you will have your choice of a 1980s Traveler's Drac Bat doll or a 1960s Monster Magic set or contemporary Mego 14-inch Dracula, contemporary NECA Quint, as you saw, or NECA Frankenstein that I showed you. You can, if you win, you can pick one of those, and I will mail it to you free of charge. There's no purchase necessary. All you have to do is find that giveaway video, and I should put a link to that video. I mean, it's easy to find on the channel, but just to be sure, I should put a link to it in the description. So hopefully I will remember to do that. If I don't, say in the comments, hey, where's the link? And I'll put it on there. Go to that video. You have to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave a comment on that video. Not this video, although feel free to comment on this video, but to enter the contest, you have to leave a comment on that video, the contest video. Leave a comment, and that enters you in the contest. And at noon Central Time, Friday, October 29th, that's the cutoff date, that's the deadline. I will say, okay, contest is closed, and I will take all the names of all the people who commented on the video, print them out, put them in another blow mold toy. This blow molded witch's cauldron. This is a modern piece, but this is another blow mold. This witch's cauldron. I'll put them in here, and on video I will randomly draw a name out, and that person will be the winner. Whoever name I draw, that will be the winner. And then you can pick one of those toys as your prize, and I will mail it to you. I'll probably post the video showing the winner probably Saturday, October 30th. So, enter that contest. Enter the big giveaway. You don't have to have a mask. You don't have to watch your TV set. But it is the big Halloween giveaway. So you want to be part. I promise your face will not melt. You want to be part. Of course, I would say that, wouldn't I? But hey, you don't have to put on a mask or anything, so it's safe. It's safe. Enter the big Halloween giveaway. Find the video, follow the link, comment on the video by noon, October 29th, and I will draw your name, hopefully, if you're the winner. If you're not the winner, well, sorry, but I will draw the winner's name, and they will win one of those toys. Okay? Got it? All right. Remember to subscribe to this channel and click the little bell so you'll know when I upload new videos. Once again, have a happy Halloween season. Have a happy October, and I'll see you later on Basement of Horror. Bye-bye.